So in this PowerPoint presentation lecture video thing, we're going to be looking at symbols and Delani Valin's short story called Missing. So symbols, so I think that sometimes when we're writing, we have this idea that we can just write a first draft, and if you just sort of like let it flow or happen, that there's this idea that symbols are going to just sort of magically materialize. And I do think that sometimes symbols do just organically, like without our meaning to, they just arrive. But normally you have to actually build them in and make them feel organic. So sadly, this requires a lot of work to create a symbol, to repeat it, and then to have it continually transforming and to organically have that feeling. So last week you thought about symbols, especially we discussed the arc of symbols. So here I'm just and you can read, but in any event, like you want to create a symbol that feels natural, like it has to actually make sense and fit in. And of course, I'm going to be looking for that organic or natural feeling within your short fiction assignment. So you're going to really need to write with precision and intent. And remember that those descriptions need to be precise and tight and carefully written. So, so I'm providing you an example of a symbol from Brokeback Mountain, which is just a beautiful book and an equally beautiful film. And this is a quote. At the north end of the closet, a tiny jog in the wall made a slight hiding place, and here, stiff, with long suspension from a nail, hung a shirt. He lifted it off the nail, Jack's old shirt from Brokeback days. The dried blood on the sleeve was his own blood, a gushing nosebleed on the last afternoon on the mountain when Jack, in their contortionistic grappling and wrestling, had slammed Enos's nose hard with his knee. He had staunched the blood, which was everywhere, all over both of them, with his shirt sleeve, but the staunching hadn't held, because Enos had suddenly swung from the deck and laid the ministering angel out in the wild columbine, wings folded. The shirt seemed heavy until he saw there was another shirt inside it, the sleeves carefully worked down inside Jack's sleeves. It was his own plaid shirt, lost, he thought, long ago in some damn laundry. His dirty shirt, the pocket ripped, buttons missing, stolen by Jack and hidden here inside Jack's own shirt. The pair like two skins, one inside the other, two in one. He pressed his face into the fabric and breathed in slowly through his mouth and nose, hoping for the faintest smoke and mountain sage and salty, sweet stink of Jack. But there was no real scent, only the memory of it, the imagined power of Brokeback Mountain, of which nothing was left but what he held in his hands. So this is just an example of, okay, and obviously this is a published, beautiful book. I am not expecting you to be able to create this kind of writing yet. I believe all of you are capable of it, though. So, but this is just an example of how to work in an organic symbol. So consider when you're first describing a real world object like a shirt, you are going to be describing it exactly like that as itself, as a real world object. When you introduce, readers should perceive this object as a natural part of the story world. So you'll notice with the shirts, we're not thinking, oh, this is a symbol. We discover it as it's written about, this description of these two shirts, one inside the other. So this is a discovered symbol of relationship, love, sex, bodies, the taboo, everything is all in this description, this symbol of the shirts. This is another example of a symbol, and this is from Scott Westerfeld's novel Uglies. So I'm not sure if, in any event, there are white tiger orchids in the novel, Scott Westerfeld's novel, and they mean different things in this novel. Um, so what has happened is we discover as we're reading the novel that the white tiger lily was genetically engineered from the previous generations. In the novel, they're referred to as rusties. So they were genetically manipulated to become hardier in order to trade them for lots of stuff. That's a quote. So what happens with this is that the plant becomes a monoculture, an ultimate weed, and even is part of its own destruction. So the orchids basically push everything else out and everything dies as a result. But then they also, because they pushed everything out, including hummingbirds that carry their seeds and cross-pollinate for them, they push those out as well. So they're actually killing themselves. So there are different things that this monoculture, the white tiger orchids, symbolize. They can symbolize the society the protagonist Tally comes from. They can symbolize the what is referred to as the pretties, the idea that everyone should be beautiful and symmetrical and look very similar. They symbolize the protagonist herself. She thinks of herself as dangerous as a white tiger orchid. So we see this transformation. This is one way we see a transformation of a symbol that is carried throughout the novel. And then I've just given you a quote where Tally kind of first encounters them. So those are examples of symbols, an example of how to recreate a symbol and transform it. And by studying Valin's short story Missing, you might consider how to build symbols within your own work. So as you read this short story Missing, look for objects that repeat. How do descriptions of these objects change when the object is repeated? And how do descriptions of these objects characterize the narrator? Does the object feel like a natural and organic part of the story world? And what kind of symbolic significance does the object gain as it is repeating itself? So here's a list of why writers rely upon symbolism. Uh, and there are, many reasons. Um, I think the most obvious one is to assist readers to explain love, hate, justice, unfairness, very complex, abstract ideas, and explain them in ways that are concrete and understandable. So there are a variety of reasons as to why writers are using symbolism. Here's a short list. You can, of course, pause this video and read it. Um, I would like to talk about Delani Valin's Missing for the second part of this lecture. So the objectives here are just very simple. I just want to go over a brief biography, look at the story and its symbols. So this is Delani Valin. She studies creative writing at Vancouver Island University, and she is a winner of Subterrane's Lush Triumphant Literary Award for her suite of poetry called Modern Myths from 2016. Her reading has, of course, appeared in Subterrane, the Canadian anthology, Those Who Make Us, Adbusters, Soliloquies, Anthology, and Portal, among others. She is Métis, a woman, bisexual, and a person who has openly struggled with mental illness. She often explores questions of identity and community in her work. She's in the process of assembling her first poetry book. She is also from Williams Lake, so she's, from just down the road from us. So this, what I've given you is just like really kind of like the bare bones or the skeletal nature of the story itself. How it's opening with Lisa scoring some really, really terrible whiskey, which is sometimes described as hot sauce in water. And she's scoring this whiskey from a guy who is described as having a swollen lip and who also wants to know what a high school girl is doing drinking on a Tuesday morning. She has her friend Shannon's dog, Harriet. She's walking the dog for Shannon's mom, and Shannon is, as we discover, Shannon has gone missing. Lisa, as she indicates to us, craving more alcohol since Shannon has gone missing. We discover the setting is in Williams Lake. She takes the dog Harriet to a town park. Once there, she has a vision. She finds a key in this vision, and she's told by a woman that the raven and ravens in general are tricksters. She goes home, tells her mother of her vision slash hallucination. Her mother takes her to the hospital where she's admitted into psychiatric care. Once there, we are told about her recurring dream, the house with its peeling paint stained sheet that's placed over the window, as well as a red scarf wavering in the weeds which surround the porch. She draws the house the following morning, and Jeremy, also in the ward, recognizes it, tells her the house is located up beside the airport. She's another vision while watching television, with about the house with a bookshelf and a hole behind it. She locates the house, the bookshelf, and the hole. She falls into the hole, dies, but at the end of the short fiction piece, she does locate her lost friend, Shannon. So, sorry, that was just like a bare skeletal, just like here's what's happening in the story. But here I want to draw your attention to some noticeable symbols of the house and the objects in and outside of it, pulsating static of a television, the recurrence of insects, particularly wasps, as well as the cereal box with a bee on it, the number three ravens that recur, Lisa's flapping her arms, which is akin to wings flapping, and colors such as pink and blue. And consider how these objects are repeating and are presented in the story, and think of what they might mean. So, ravens are indeed tricksters in many indigenous cultures, as well as in all the First Nations that the Métis come from, so Cree, Ojibwe, Anishinaabe, etc., as well as representing birth, death, and transformation. So when you are working with an object that you want to create as a symbol, and it is a cultural symbol like the raven, you're going to have to build in a little more information. So that is that's it for symbols and missing. And I really enjoyed Valin's short fiction piece, Missing. I think it's really impressive. I thought it was uh, wonderful. I liked the movement. I loved the use of symbols. So I quite like that short story. And of course, I really appreciate that she's, from the region, which is always exciting to me. I hope you enjoyed it. I really look forward to reading your short fiction pieces. Please don't be nervous. I say that all the time. You're going to be nervous or you're not going to be nervous, but I don't want you to be nervous. I'm sure that your pieces are going to be absolutely wonderful, and I really do look forward to reading them. Of course, if you have any questions, you can, of course, email me, and Wednesday office hours. All right. Thanks very much. Bye.